Osakabehime has been buffed. Hello everyone and welcome to the new buff breakdown. Yeah, they finally decided to buff Osakabehime again, and that's great. Funnily enough, we were even talking about potential buffs for her in this mobcast last week, and yeah, I don't know, maybe someone's listening or whatever, but yeah, we got the buff. That's great. So yeah, let's see what we have for today. So this time they buffed her second skill. So previously on a 5-turn cooldown, she had a targeted 20% battery for any ally, and the ally also got 50% star generation up for 3 turns. And that was it. Honestly, pretty underwhelming for a 5-star support. Maybe if it was like a welfare, I'd be like, yeah, sure, it's cute. But for a 5-star support specifically, very underwhelming. So let's see what they did. Now on the same 5-turn cooldown, the 20% MP gauge is now party-wide. So it's no longer single target, everyone gets it now, including herself. Same with the 50% star generation for 3 turns, this is also now party-wide. Pretty cool. And then there's a brand new line added where the full party gets overcharged for 2 steps, 1 time, 3 turns, excuse me. Well, now on a 5-turn cooldown, we have a really good skill. Again, very notably, it's a 5-turn cooldown. Most 20%ers that are spread batteries in the game are 6-turn cooldowns. So for this being 5 turns is actually pretty cool. The star generation buff obviously will, you know, have mixed value depending on who you apply it to. Actually, for herself, it is not that bad. She is an assassin with a deck that is fairly decent with star generation buffs. And then overcharge on herself is not the worst either, because her overcharge is the party-wide quick and buster up going up. So this being now a 2-step overcharge up, it would go from base 30 to base 40% when you use the MP. That's actually quite a lot of party up wide card buffs. That's nice. And obviously, depending on who you're teaming up with her, they may also get a very nice, enjoyable boost out of this overcharge buff as well. Say, Assassin Kama, who was buffed recently, who has her ramp up in the overcharge as well. She would definitely enjoy this, and the increased quick up from Osakabehime's MP as well. So, what do I think of this buff? Because again, we were theorizing buffs for her. First of all, I think this skill itself now is really good. Especially in a 5-turn cooldown, is really nice. I like it a lot. But I'm not sure if I'm super happy with Hime yet. I was hoping to see a bit of an easier time to get her own MP. Yes, this makes it easier, of course, because chances are you never gave her this targeted 20% anyway, and now it being party-wide means that she just gets 20% more now. Yeah, that's nice. But the problem remains, that is the only battery she has for herself still. There is nothing else for batteries in any of her other skills, or MP for that matter, to help with her or any of her teammates actually. So the spread 20 is all she has still for batteries. And for a 5-star support, it is kind of a hard sell. Obviously, there are some other exceptions where it's not the biggest deal ever. Say, you know, Constantine after his MP buff, still very usable. But I feel like for someone like Hime, I'm not so sad about the lack of batteries for her allies, but for herself. Like, not super long ago, well, I guess it is well ago now at this point, they just, at one point, Sherlock got a 50% self-battery, just randomly. They was like, hey, yeah, have a 50% battery. So now him getting his own MP is pretty easy. I feel like something like that could have benefited him as well. Like, honestly, I feel like they could have made this, like, maybe at least 30% for self and then spread 20, or, like, targeted 30, self 30, you know, kind of how, like, Charlotte, Caster, Summer does it. I like spread 20, of course. It's really good. It's so much better than a single target thing, but it's still gonna be hard to get her MP, which I've always been sad about. Like, her MP, yeah, it's not the best MP ever, but it's still nice to have, you know? It offers both offense and defense for the whole team. So yeah, you definitely want to have it during boss fights, and or if you're going for like even min turns. So it makes it easier, but I still would like to see an easier way to get it. There is still her 3rd skill, of course, that has never been buffed. Everything else about her has been buffed now. The 1st, the 2nd skills, the MP, but the 3rd skill hasn't been touched. And honestly, it's semi-underwhelming anyway, considering the defense down is also 1 turn only, which is really weird. So I'm hoping they can still buff that and maybe include like a self-battery there. And then we might actually be seeing a world where Osakabehime is actually way more pickable. This is a great step, of course. Maybe even her best buff ever of the 3, I would say. But I still want to say I'm not super satisfied. So of last year's assassin tier list, we placed her on B+, and honestly with this, I feel like we can keep her there. Is that weird? I'm kind of inching more towards A, but again, we'll do these lists again this year. By the way, starting tomorrow is the first one, Saber tier list, so you're going to be seeing that upload on YouTube, hopefully on Sunday if you can't catch it live. But yeah, we'll discuss this buff more in depth when we get to the assassin tier list later. Now, before I close off, I want to talk about this, because we obviously will have a bunch of rotational rate ups now for Valentine's for female servants, and with today we got the rate up for Hime, and with that we also got this buff. So I'm thinking, because there's going to be so many of these, we could be in for a lot of buffs in the coming days here as well. For instance, tomorrow we get the start of the rate up for Lancer, Arturia, Maeve. Then later on there's gonna be Marie, Alter, and Quetzalcoatl, Citonai and Artemis, Bradamante, Anastasia, Scheherazade, Sanzang, Drake and Altera, Nidacris Alter, Galatea, Vritra and Tamamo, Arturia, John, Spider Mommy, Nightingale, Jack, Mordred. You get the point, right? Even Jinako at Europa. Oh, I guess even Lohi is there. There's no way they're gonna buff her though. But honestly, there's so many rooms for buffs with these rate ups is my point here. Obviously, me being biased, I would like to see more Jinako buffs, but I feel like there's other servants that could use buffs more. So I would be shocked if this was the only buff with the first rate up. There's bound to be more buffs for these. So, you know, enter your theories in the comments of who of these 5-star servants you would like to see buffed. Personally, I think Quetzalcoatl probably is the most overdue for a buff. She is just that much far behind Ozymandias these days. It is not even funny. So there you go. Osakabehime finally buffed again. Much needed, much deserved. Still feel like she could use more. It doesn't fully solve her issues, but I do very much like this buff. So if you enjoyed this video, do me a solid and press the thumbs up button on it. It really helps out. And do subscribe not to miss out on future videos, because again, we might be getting a lot of buffs in the nearby days, and also the tier lists are coming now, hopefully weekly your way. So you definitely don't want to miss out on all this crazy content dropping by. Shout out to my patrons on the screen right now, and Suit for being a big YouTube tier member supporter. And otherwise, have a great weekend up ahead, and see ya in the next video. Bye.